Mr. Frank Blaichman, would you please tell us where you were and what happened to you from 1939 to 1945?
Since 1939 till 1942, as it was in fall 1942, I was in Kamyanka. In 1939, when Germans invaded Poland, they came to our town. At that time, I was 17 years of age. When I saw when the Germans the German soldiers rounded around some Jews, religious Jews from our town, and tried to beat them, with whipped, and cut their beards with knives. At that time, I decided myself that I'm not going to fall in their hands. Mm-hmm. And this was going on until 1942. I tried all the time to run away from them, and whenever they made any raids. In 1942, when the order came that all the Jews from Kamyanka had to leave to a town, this was a Christ town, Lubartov, was about 10 kilometers away. At that time I decided I'm not going to go. I'm not going to follow the order. And I said goodbye to my parents and to my brothers, sisters, and the grandparents, everybody. And I just, excuse me, where were we done? Now when I separate my family, I had with me a friend which was older than me. Myself, he was about in the 30s, from Warsaw. He at that time asked me, he wanted to go with me together because I had many farmers friends back in the country. They used to come on dealing with my parents. So they promised me if the day comes something going to be bad or something, I need help, they will try to help me out. Or hide me out, let's say. So he agreed, he got together with me and asked me I should go with him. I should take him with me, which I did. The last day I said goodbye to everybody. And we went away out from the town about a few kilometers. There was a little forest. Within this little forest we met about maybe 20 to 30 young men, boys from our town, friends. I was the youngest from all of them. And we were sitting thinking what's going to be. We sent somebody, one of the Poles, to find out what happened to our families. And they came back and told us that the Germans didn't come in, just the police, Polish police, chased everybody out. They had to go by themselves to Lubartov, walking, carrying whatever belongings they had. And that's what happened. Some of them got beaten up by the Poles. At the same time, they were talking, asking each other, what should we do? Where should we go? But I had made up my mind that I have some friendly, farmers like the Poles, the peasants, and they promised me they're going to hide me. So I had my mind just to go there, to the man which I was promised to. The name was Klaus, if I remember exactly. And then they started talking between themselves, and some of them were in the
Just a minute, it's... All right.
They were saying, we were the police here in Kamyanka, probably they're going to make a ghetto in Lubartov. And there we're going to be the police too, so we're going to join the police there too. So they were talking with themselves. It didn't interest me at all because I had my mind made up that I'm not going no place. I want to die here, not to go through any suffering. So we were sitting for a few hours in the afternoon. It was on Friday. It was a rainy day, a drizzling day right now. And the friend who's supposed to go with me together, they changed his mind too. And he says he's going to go with them. So I said to myself, what I'm going to do by myself. I was the youngest, all of them. They asked me, what are you going to do? I said, look, I'm not going no place. I want to die right here. I'm not going any ghettos and anything else. As a matter of fact, I told them, if there's going to be a ghetto, I always have time to go into the ghetto. But to run away from the ghetto, I'm afraid it could be too late. And they changed my mind too. We started walking together towards Lubartov, the place where our parents, everybody's supposed to go. And I saw these churches, the big churches like they had there, in Poland. I saw the church already. It was about maybe 3-4 miles away. And I was thinking to myself, what I'm doing, where I'm going. And I turned around, I said, I'm going back. And I asked this man who was supposed to go with me, what's his name? Yankel Suredin is, his name. Because in Poland, everybody had some kind of nickname. He says, no, he's going with them. In the meantime, there were 2 others turned around to go with me. One was from our town, from Kamyanka. He asked me, where are you going? I said, look, I don't know where I'm going. I've promised some people gonna, say, try to hide me out. If you want, you can come with me. Then he said, no, he's going back. And one man went with me from Warsaw. He kept walking with me together, and also he told me about some kind of a group, Jews in some forest near Markuszów. Woleb Przybysławski was the name. That some Jews living in the forest already. So he asked me to go with him. And I said, you come with me. We started talking back and forth, but anyway, I saw a farmer, a horse and wagon, a farmer was riding there. So I asked him if he could take us with him. And I said, okay, so we jumped on the wagon. We were riding already about maybe a few miles. Then I changed my mind again. I said, look, where I'm going to go? I'm going to go in a strange place here. People know me. If I go in, I'm going to get food, something, I'm going to help out. I have no other place to go. So I said to him, if you want to go with me? He says, no. So we shook hands, and we separate. After we separate, I was alone, left alone. And I started walking to the village where the people, lived. They promised me they're going to give me a place where to stay. And the name of the village was Keszkówka. So I came into this village, and they looked at me, and I looked at them. They knew already what happened. They didn't ask me any questions. They said, sit down. You want to eat something? So I said, I can't eat. How can I eat? So they tried to put me to sleep, made me the bed. It was very nice of them. I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I don't want to endanger your lives. Because the Germans find out, they're going to burn your life. So what do you want to do? I said, look, let me go in the barn and stay in the barn. I want to sleep in the barn. Nobody's going to see me there. I said, okay. There was a family that had 2 children. They were very nice to me. And I stayed there from Friday until Sunday. Sunday night, I went back to my town, Kamyanka, to find out what happened. I came over there to Kamyanka, and I saw a little boy from my town walking on the street. So I called him over, I was hiding myself, and I asked him, what are you doing here? He said, there's a few families, some in the forest, not far away, but it was 5 kilometers. Forest was Bratnik, the name, the forest. And there's some families live there. I was wondering, so I said, okay, I'm going to go over and take a look what's going on there. So I went to this forest. 2 days later, I went to this forest, and I met some people from our town, maybe there were about 30 families. Say, excuse me, I ran away. And over there I met my cousin also, my first cousin, also Frank Levin. And we were there a few days, we got together, so we became really brothers and sisters, close together, because it was, bad times. And I saw they made, bunkers in the forest, and we were sleeping in the bunkers, and we were, peeling potatoes on the ground. It was everything new to me. But in a few days I got used to it, because I was thinking, how long can this man, he's a good man, the Polak, the Polak family, keep me? All of a sudden they're going to get, tired of me, where I'm going to go. So I decided I don't want to stay alone, hide someplace. I'm going to stay with them together. So we were together about 2 or 3 weeks. We were about 8 men, young boys, 8 boys. I was the youngest because the others, they were already in the army, they were in the 20s, like 25, 26. I was the youngest of them. So after that, after 3 weeks, I saw that it's a big danger there in this forest, because the women were going out, to the villages, to get food. And they were walking like every Saturday afternoon. We used to go for a walk. They were walking, in line, to buy milk, all kind of food. And I thought to myself, I said, look, this is not good this way, because the Germans, some Poles going to tell the Germans, and they're going to round us up because they know exactly the place where we're staying here. And they're going to kill us all. And I said to my friends, I said, look, I think I'm not going to stay here. I can take with me another 2 men, if whoever wants to go with me. And that's all I can do. I cannot take everybody because there's no room. But 2 men I can take it with me. And they start to ask me, why? What's the reason? So the reason, I took out my friend in the front, in the edge of the forest, and I showed him. I said, this is the reason. See the people walking, the women walking back and forth all day. Someday they're going to round us up and they're going to kill us all. And what can we do? We have no guns, nothing. They looked at me and said, look, you have a point here. What should we do? I said, if you want to listen to me, I have an idea. We have no guns, we have nothing. The only thing we can do is protect the women and children during the day. All day we'll stay with them in the area, you see, because they were, Poles, the firemen, from all kind of bad guys used to come, round them up, take away money, whatever they could, and beat them up. So we were watching for them. I said, let's make ourselves a bunker someplace else. I knew the area there, the terrain I knew very well. And then during the day we're going to be with them. In the evening we should be separate. They said, okay, if you want to do this, we'll do this way. And the forest, has divided, roads in between, cut different ways. So we went on the other side of the road and made ourselves a bunker between very, I would say thick, woods. It was very thick. We made a bunker ourselves. We were 8 boys. And there were 2 girls there, which from our town, young girls, and they begged us, they want to stay with us, cook for us, we should stay together. And we promised them we're going to take them. We finished the bunker, was about, I think, Thursday. And then we didn't have any hay, straw to put it in the bunker. We were waiting to take the girls with us next day. So every morning we had, like in the army, there were boys all were in the army, before. 2 men got up in the morning, we would try to cooking, bring food, bring water and things like that. And the rest we were sleeping. One morning, 2 men got up in the morning, they went to get water from the forest that belonged to, the big, rich, those, what you call, priests or barons in Poland. And they had a watchman, on this forest. They went to get the water there. And all of a sudden they came back and woke us all up. He said, look, there's something going on there near the forest. So we got up, we got dressed, and they went back. It was still dark in the morning. While they went back, we heard shooting already. And they were running around with the pails, empty pails underneath the woods. So they came back. I knew the terrain very well, and we went the other direction. We ran away, and we were circled around. All the forest was circled around with the Germans. And we came back in the back of one with a machine gun, The German was standing. We were right in the back of him. But luckily, he didn't see us. We saw him, and we ran out from the circle. So they came that time, and they killed all the families. There were about 30 families, all got killed. Maybe a few just ran away. The 2 girls, luckily, also ran away somehow. We came back in the evening. It was a massacre. So we buried all of them. Well done like this.
It's okay.
Okay. After we buried our dead, we saw that we have no place to go, nothing else to do, just to find guns and to start to fight back. But a couple of weeks after, a boy from the next town, which I knew him before, he was a carpenter. He used to work, on the villages by the farmers as a carpenter. He says to me, I worked on a place, one farmer, and he told me he has so many guns he hid from the Polish army after, the Germans came in, before the Germans, that he can arm a whole company. When I heard he tell me this here, from top to bottom, the chills I got right away. And I asked him, tell me, who's the name, where's the address? And he told me Lemanshuk was the name, and told me the address was Mikhailovsky Colony. And after I stopped talking to him, I went to my friends and I said, look, tonight we're going to get guns. They looked at me. I said, yes. What we had until then, we had those, what you call straw picks or snow picks. The farmers used to have those, picking hay picks.
Oh, yeah.
They had 5, the forks, yeah. They had 5 points, yeah. We broke all the 5, we left one. With a strap, with a piece of rope. It looked like nighttime, looked like a gun or something.
Oh.
That's what we were carrying around in a flashlight for our own, protection. In the evening, when the dark came, we went to a farm. We took 2 pair of slates, 2 sets, of horses and slates, and we went there to this village. I had a man there with me. He was from Warsaw. He looked like a Russian. Excuse me, big mustache, dark complexion. I myself was wearing a big fur coat, the police fur coat, the Polish police blue uniform, fur coat up to the bottom, with some kind of a number or something he had done. I came into this Lemanshuk, lighting his eyes, with my flashlight. I said to him, look, we are from paratroopers from Russia, Polish descents in Polish, and you have guns, you have to give us the guns. If you give us goodwill, we appreciate it. If you're not going to give us in a nice way, we'll take it anyway. He didn't say nothing. He was just getting dressed. So I was, just lighting in his eyes. He couldn't see me because, it was dark. He got dressed and he walked out with us. We walked out and went to the barn and pulled out between they had those roofs with straw. Picked out a gun, pistol with ammunition, and gave it to me. Then he said he has buried somewhere a rifle. I just started to look at it. It was snow on the ground. It was December 1942. I said, look, and this other man was with me. He only knew little Russian, so he said, что. No, he thought he's a Russian because he looked like I just was lighting in his face, Then he thought that maybe we are Russians or something like that. So finally, he start digging with an axe and with a shovel. Was snow on the ground. He found the rifle buried, a new rifle, but he chopped off a little piece of it. We spent about a few hours until he found it. He gave us this, and then he went with us to the neighbor. He knocked at the window. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. He says to him, listen, here are people from Russia, the son, and so, and you have a gun. So he went out also and gave us a gun, the other man. So we had already 2 guns, 2 pistols and 1 rifle, and then he had also a shotgun he gave us. We had 4 pieces of arms. It was too late, so we said goodbye, we thanked him for it. In the meantime, he gave us addresses, for other places. So we went home. We went back home. We went back to our place in forest. 2 days later, we went back, the same village. It was exactly New Year's Eve, 1942 to 1943. He gave us an address to a one-man farmer. His name was Zdunek. We came into this Zdunek. We knocked at the door. He was very polite. And we told him, look, the same story. I was the speaker. We are, the son from Russia, here and there you have guns. You got to give us the guns. Then he says to me, if you are descendants, paratroopers from Russia, then you don't know who I am, who is Zdunek? I looked at him, he says, I am a communist. My brother is in Russia right now. If you want to take away from me the guns, if the Germans going to come to me, how I'm going to protect myself? That's the way he was talking to us. We couldn't do nothing to him. I just tried to talk to him nice here and there. Anyway, we talked him into it. He went out. He brought us in a new rifle, just like from magazine taken out. It was still greased and everything. And he put it back in the barn because he didn't trust us. And he says, go ahead and take it. So he took from him. Then we had other addresses. We went in a place, they had a New Year's Eve ball that time, the boys and girls. And we came in. We didn't have this big experience yet. We didn't have that kind of experience yet, but we looked like partisans already. They took us in, those boys, and right away put a table, for us and started to serve us, food and everything else, but we didn't want to drink there. So we told them to give us with us, we're going to take it. The same man, this Duna, came after us. He saw that we went there. He called them Miועד and said, look, what do you want to destroy us here? Because maybe some spies here. German spies. He says, better take it off and get away from here. So we listened to him, we went away. Since then, we got all the guns we needed for our group, because one gave us the address to the other. The first thing what we did, I said, today I leave, I want to take revenge. We went into our town where, we knew those people which they were catching, girls, undressed and taken to the Germans. And we cleaned up a few right there. Then, the same forest in Bratnik, I met one day Simon Robbins and Michael Lotterstein. They were in a group in partisans with the Russian partisans. And since then we start to get connections with other groups, partisans, and that's how we became to be partisans. We start to fight back. And we gained the respect from those, from the area, from the farmers, you know, from all the organizations like Army Krajowy, Polish, Bataliony Chłopskie, which they were, you know, they all wanted to destroy us. But somehow, luckily, and with the way what we did, we successfully stayed alive. Because after we took this revenge, I met other groups. I said, don't bend down your head, because the only way we can stay alive to right away give it back. 1943, after what we tried to straighten them out, when we came to a village, they didn't call the Germans because we are in the village. They just came to us and said, look, the Moshe was here, Yankee was here, and we gave him food. That's what happened. You know, they were proud to tell us. They tried to help him, not to kill him or bring him to the Germans. This brought about because we took action. Whenever we heard that a Jew got killed through the Polacks, you know, Otto, we took care of it right away, there and then. As a matter of fact, in 1943, the BH, Battalion Chłopskie, they called a conference with us. And they made with us an agreement that we shouldn't kill any more their people, and they will not kill our people. Whatever we'll have some grievances, we should tell them or they will tell us. Because in the beginning it was very hard, really, because there were bandits, you know, Polish bandits, regular bandits from, you know, robbers. They were going grabbing people on our account. You know, telling that the Jews did it. And everybody was against us, first of all. And not, you know, and I have to tell you, because we're Jews. And secondly, they, you know, tried to not have any witnesses, because whatever they took away, you know, from our people, they didn't want to have anybody to be alive. So they did whatever they could, and we did whatever we could. And in the end, really, we got them so straightened out that we were sitting in the villages, not in the forest anymore, because forest was, now in the area was too dangerous, because the forests were not that big. So we instead were sitting in the villages. When the Germans, let's say, decided to go in our area from Lublin, you know, Lublin, they had a big garrison there. Then the Polacks, or bicycle or by a horse or back riding, they came to us and told us that the Germans come in our direction. So we liked to fight with them. We were waiting there for them. Otherwise, you know, we went away. That's how we got straightened out in our area with the Poles. He's done, yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning, we were 8 boys from all together. We were 6 from our town, and 2 were prisoners of war, ex-prisoners of war, Jewish prisoners of war. In 1942, January 1942, we met a group with Gruber as the commander. There were a group of prisoners former prisoners of war from the Polish army. And then we got together. And since then, we were together to the end. In 1944, we went to towards near the book. In 1944, we went towards the book, river book, and we came to a forest called Parchev area, Parchevsky Lassi. From there we met a group named Captain Hill, Greenspun. At that time, I was picked one of my group to take with a group of about 14 men to take the Polish first government to the other side of the book. This was in spring and March, I think, 1944. We brought him down to the other side book. And after we came to the other side book, we had a hard time going back because there were the Hungarian soldiers here. When we took the Polish government over to the other side, there was Osip Komorowski, General Spichalski, Dr. Haneman, and Kazik Shidor. After we delivered them to a partisan Atrat Vorshilovsky Atrat. Soon we passed the book. They were waiting for them to take them away. And we had to go to a little village about 2 miles from the book. Before we crossed the book, there were little waters like, and there was ice on top. And I fell in break through one of the ice and almost drowned. After I got out and I got on the boat, we were crossing the book. The temperature was very cold, it was freezing. And my whole uniform and whole clothing and everything was about 2 inches thick of ice. After we crossed the brook, we were running towards the village. When we came into the village, there were no people there. Most of the people were speaking Ukrainian. All the people were in the forest. The houses were empty. One of the houses, a farmer came back to bake bread. And he had the oven hot. And we came into this house and we tried to dry up our clothes. I was standing before the oven maybe 2 hours until the ice melted off my uniform. After I got undressed, everything was soaking wet. A half hour later, one of the partisan group, a messenger came that the Hungarian troops, they were fighting with the Germans hand in hand, running around A messenger came, told us that they are circling around our forests. So we had to leave this house, and we started walking towards the Warshilov's group. About 12 o'clock night, we arrived at their camp, and they took us in and gave us food. They knew already who we were, and they told us that we were encircled from the Germans on the Hungarian soldiers, and they split us. We were 14 people. They split us to 7 different companies. Theirs. The company which I was assigned to, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m., we walked out for an ambush for those Hungarian soldiers. We were waiting for them until about 10 a.m. At 10 a.m., another group came to relieve us. We went back to the camp, and I started to shave myself. All of a sudden there was an alarm, and I heard shooting. So the whole camp went on alert. We went back to the front line, front of the forest where the fighting was going on. And I saw trees as big, maybe 2 meters in diameter. They just cut in half by machine guns. First, the Russians, our group, the other group which replaced us, led this Hungarian whole group, about 45 men, in deep in the forest, and then they killed them all. After that, the Germans used planes, all they could, all they had, you know. And we had an order in the evening to evacuate this camp. After we evacuated the camp, we came to a place and we were standing. We stopped over on a place, and it started snowing. And snow fell about 8 hours. And the snow was high as maybe 2 meters. After that, it started to rain, the snow started to melt. And we walked towards Wanda Wasilewski's group. We came to Wanda Wasilewski's group. This was a little further deep in the forest. And we were staying there with the Wanda Wasilewski's group about a week after we could go back on our territory. In the fall 1943, I'm sorry, correction. In December 1943, we had an order that all commanders from all groups to get together for a convention. I was representing our group, and with me came Simon Robbins. We went to a village named Buki in the near Parchev forest. Over there we met all officers from all Polish groups and Russian groups. There were colonels, one general, and we were discussing what it's going to be next. The same day, a group of Germans came near our village. The name of the village was Yami. It came about 60 German-dressed Russian from Vlasov's army, and about 10 officers of the German army. They came to make raids on those forests. We were having a good time that time in the village, and a group of people from the village came over to us and saying to us that the Germans came there and took quarters in different houses, and they have plans to make raids on those villages and forests. So they made us feel very bad in telling us, how could we stand that you're not going to destroy those Germans? We listened to them, and then we had an order in the evening to go to investigate exactly where they are located. I was picked with a group we were the only two Jews in this group, myself and Simon Robbins. We were together, picked together, and we went for investigate where the Germans are located. We came back, we knew exactly the location. 2 o'clock in the morning, we had an order, about 40 men. We went into the village, and when we attacked those Germans, and we caught about 40 of them alive. They were all Russian from Vlasov's army. We took prisoners over 40 men with 8 officers. And most of them we killed on the way. We didn't have too much time to take them away because the night was short, the daylight started, and we held on just to those officers. And we couldn't go far away, just about 2 miles from the scene. About 8 o'clock in the morning, we saw thousands of Germans circling around the village, the Yami, and they burned down the whole village, and they killed every person what they found in the village. In 1944, end of April, we had a conference with Rola Zimerski and the village Bujki, near Parcher Forest. At that conference, I was myself and a friend of mine, Joe Rolnick. At that time, at that meeting, I was nominated as a lieutenant from Rola Zimerski. And we had an order not to leave the state of Lublin, but to stay on as best as we can. If we have to split in 1 or 2 and hide out, we should stay in Lublin territory, because the offensive starts And we have to take over the government, to help organize the government, the Polish government there. He was with us 2 days, and then we decided from the territory, from the Parchover Forest, we all should go to Janowe Forest. This is the other side of Lublin. And we start to go towards the Janowe Forest. We came to a village named Romblów. We came to this village Romblów. We found none of the men were at the village, just women. And right there we were suspicious of the whole thing. But we had no choice. Wherever we came over, we had to stay because we came nighttime in the morning, before the daylight, and we took off quarters. We were at that time about 200 men, and there were with us a group of Chapiovtsis, Russian partisans. I was at the quarters with 2 of my men, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, I received an order from Captain Zemsty. He was our commander, that I should send out an ambush for my group with 2 machine guns on a certain road. The man who delivered the message was the name Lonka and Lonka Pfefferkorn and Władek, the second name I don't remember. But Lonka Pfefferkorn lives now in Israel. When he delivered me the message, I was sleeping on the floor, on the straw. And I set up to take the message. Then a German airplane, flew over the head, and with a machine gun, he saw the horses. He shot right through the roof. And about 5 feet away from where I was sitting and he was standing, the whole floor, wooden floor, came up. Then I carried out my order. I sent out my men on the roadblock, and we all went out from the quarters to the field. Luckily, we had the big, the terrain was hilly, and we took on positions. An hour later, many planes came and bombarded us from the air. In the meantime, I was with the headquarters, and one of our officers decided to shoot out 3 flares. 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 white, something like that. At this moment we shoot out the flares, the air raid stopped, and they start attack us. And we start to fight with them. We were fighting until the evening. The only man we lost at that time, at that fight, was through the air raid. The rest, we that time killed a few hundred of them, Germans, or most of them were from the Vlasovci Russian army. At that time, in the evening, we pulled out from there. and we got split up. Some groups went to the Yanovsky forest, and I went back with my other group to our territory. In 1943, can't recall the date, there was a baron, a big landowner with a castle named Leschitz. The village was Leschitz. And there was a group of German pilots. They used to come for vacations. They used to send them there, and they had an observation post. One day we decided to go there and destroy the post. And we had information that they had a bunker in the cellar. All night they were not sleeping. They were sleeping only during the day. In the morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, the watchman used to walk out on the grounds, and then they went to sleep. We had information from a Iron Man, Smith, yeah,
Blacksmith?
Blacksmith, yeah. We had information from a blacksmith that 6 o'clock in the morning, one of these watchmen guards walking around the grounds and the rest are sleeping. So we decided to go to attack them, and we had a signal when he hit with his hammer. We had a signal that the watchman, the guard, walked out on the grounds. I had a group, 15 men, to attack the castle. One of my friends, Simon Robbins, he had to go and to catch the guard first, and then I had another, after he catch the guard, to attack the castle. And he went to catch the guard. Somehow the guard got panicky and got panicky and he shot. In the meantime, the officer heard the shot, but it was a minute. We called the manager from the castle. He spoke German, and he took us to the castle, and he spoke to the Germans to surrender. Otherwise, they're going to get killed. And they decided to surrender. But meantime, the owner of this castle was living on the 6th floor with the officer from the German pilots. And he himself came down and he said to the German, "Was, Waffen, fire." And they started to shoot. We were shooting back, we were fighting with them for several hours, but nothing we could do because they were barricaded so hard. The only thing what we had, we took away the guard with us. In end of May 1944, we came back to our area, which was Parchev Forest, Parchev Velda, they called it. And by the end of June, we found ourselves, the whole area surrounded with the German army. We saw that this is the front. So we all went into the forest. And we were surrounded there in the forest surrounded in the forest by 3 days. Then we decided to break out from the forest. All around us, there were German tanks, artillery, everything. They dug themselves in all around the forest. One night we decided to break through. When we came to the edge of the forest, I was riding a horse, and I had on me a plastic raincoat, and the moon was shining. When we came to the edge of the forest, the Germans started to shoot at us with the machine guns, but luckily they were afraid of us because they were shooting in the air. And we broke through. We started shooting back, and we broke through the lines. We came to a village, Kadenitz. And that was after 3 days. We didn't have enough food, no water. We took quarters there in this village. And we put a guard on the windmill. Is it right, the windmill?
Yeah, there's a... Yeah.
Oh, I think I didn't have it there.
It's turning.
It was turning. 10 o'clock in the morning, one of our men came that 4 Germans riding on horses towards our village. We made an alert, we woke everybody up, and we went out from the village. We went out from the village towards in the corns on the field. And we took on positions. About 12 o'clock noon, we heard the ground was shaking. And there were tanks, all heavy equipment coming through the village. In the meantime, about 2 miles away, we heard shooting, a dogfight in the air with airplanes and shooting machine guns. And what happened then was really the front. The Germans were pulling back. And the shooting, what happened was that there was Chorny Atrat, a Russian group, partisan group. They gave over a message by radio to the Russian army that the Germans are escaping through this route, and the Russian planes came to bombard the Germans, and they had a dogfight. In the meantime, the Germans tried to escape into the forest, and they met the Russian partisans, and they shot them back, and they killed many of them. About 1 p.m., at 1 o'clock afternoon, 1 p.m., we saw tanks passing by in the fields about 100 yards near our positions. There were soldiers sitting on the tanks. They most probably saw us, but they didn't start a fight with us, and we were in no position to fight with them because we were just in the fields. We have no cover whatsoever. And that time they were pulling away. About 5 p.m., they left one tank which probably was damaged, and they blew up the tank, and all the ammunition was just flying in the air. In the night time, when the dark came, we It's okay?
Yes.
But 5 o'clock in the morning, we tried to break through the lines, and we sent one of our men to check out the road or we can go through. In the meantime, after 3 days not having any sleep, I need down for a few seconds. When I woke up, all my men were gone, and I was left alone. And before it gets daylight, it gets very dark, and start to rain. And I turned back, and I start walking back, and I found myself on a pasture, and and I see something walking around. I pulled my machine gun, opened up and I started walking towards this things walking around. And I saw cows, horses, and there were stacks of hay. I walked towards one of the stacks of hay, and I saw people sitting there. And I asked the people, they didn't see a group passing through here. They said yes. And one man asked me, Amchu? I said yes. And finally, he was a father of one of the men which was with us together in our group. And I didn't have too much time to think because it started to get daylight. So I asked him to come with me, and I went to one of the stacks of hay stacks, and I made myself a deep hole in it, and I asked him to cover me up, which he did. About 10 o'clock in the morning, I looked out, the rain stopped, and I saw cows, horses walking around on the pasture with those big blankets, covered with blankets. And I thought to myself, what I'm going to do now? I had the Polish officer uniform dressed with a machine gun, with bullets and everything else, with a pistol, grenades. Any German's going to see me through his binoculars, he's going to spot me right away. So I thought to myself, I'll pull one of the blankets off the cows, and I cover myself, and that's how maybe I'm going to get out of there. In the meantime, I saw a man walking, so I called him over, and I asked him if he can bring me something to eat. And then he was speaking Ukrainian, and he tells me the Russians are here. I didn't believe him. He says, yes, the Russians are here not far away from here. In the meantime, I said, go get me something to eat. He went to the village, he brought me some food, which I wanted to pay him. He didn't want to take any money from me. And I had something to eat. In the meantime, artillery shells start to blow up near me. And I was in between the Russian front and the German front. And there was the Russian were shooting the positions where I was on this pasture. I start to run fast In the meantime, I saw somebody, a group walking, but a half a mile away. And a man was walking towards me. I asked him, who are there? He says, they're partisans. And there was my group, but a quarter of a mile away, also got stuck during the daylight, and they went to hide themselves in some kind of a haystack. So we got together, and whoever we met, they said Russians are there. So we sent out 4 men on the horses. What do you call we send out, forget. I don't know in English to say, разведка. Somebody to check out. We sent out a разведка to find out where the Russians are. And we were walking towards that village. In the meantime, a group of our men walked into a house to get some food, and about a group of 50 Germans, they were running away, also tried to come into this farmer. Our men started shooting, they killed a few, and they ran away. But 4 p.m., finally we got to the village where the Russians were stationed there. When we came towards the village, they surrounded us around with small tanks. In one colonel with a horse and a horseback riding came towards us because he saw that we are not Germans, and greeted us and took us into the village. At that night, there wasn't enough vodka there to celebrate. You know, the happiest moment we got liberated from the Russian army. This was July 22nd, 1944.
Questionnaire number 3, resistance questionnaire, eliminating the questions pertaining to the ghetto. To what political and social organizations did you belong prior to the war?
None.
To what underground organizations did you belong?
Emilia Plata.
What made you join? Why did you join?
Because I want to fight back.
What were your activities as member of the organization? What was your status? Were you an ordinary member or a commander?
I was a commander.
Please recount the names and personal details of members of your group, including names of commander and members whom you did not know personally.
Jacob Clarer, Abraham Rice, Froyam Levin, Mette Gruber, Marian Dvoretsky, Sam Finkel, Alan Gotts, Joe Holm, you know, all of a sudden you can't remember all the names. Sever Rubenstein, David Rubenstein, Lonke Pfefferkorn, Joe Rolnick, Simcha Barbanel, and another Barbanel. Jurek Pomerantz, Abraham Pomerantz, Beryl Berezi, shut it up, please. And I tell you what, if you listen to it and you'll see it's incorrect something, it can be clarified. We can clarify things because, like we're sitting and talking, you know, I start to memorize things, you know.
I will call you back if there is a question.
Okay.
What were the contacts of your group with other Jewish groups in the ghetto? It doesn't apply. What were your contacts with the Aryan side,
What do you mean, Aryan side?
the non-Jews?
Oh, we had the kind of we contact with the PPR.
What were the weapons you used, your group and the organization as a whole?
First, we had Polish guns, and then we received Russian guns.
Where did the arms come from?
From Russia, we were getting by drops from airplanes.
Where did the money come from?
We didn't pay any money for that.
How did you define Jewish traitors?
The same as other traitors.
What did you do to them?
I would say we didn't have any Jewish traitors between ourselves, but other traitors we just liquidated, executed.
Were there arguments between those in your group who, in the beginning, who wanted to fight in the ghetto and those who wanted to join partisans in the forest? What was your opinion at that time?
My opinion was not to go to the ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our groups, they wanted to go to the ghetto, which they did.
Was there political argument within your organization?
No.
What were your political views then?
Our political views then was to fight back and to die with honor.
Did the members of your group and did you yourself believe at that time in any of the following? If we fight, we have chance of survival. We have no chance of survival. We fight to take revenge. We fight for the honor of the Jewish people. We fight so people will not say that we went like sheep to be slaughtered. We fight because we have nothing to lose.
I believed in fighting back. It's the only chance to stay alive. And then, if to die is to die with honor.
What happened to your family?
My family all got killed.
Where did you leave them?
In Kamyanka.
Please give any details you remember of your organizational structure of the underground before you started fighting, during the fighting, the numbers of fighters, the size of the group, the methods of communication, and the food supply.
Excuse me, don't open it. I see. The first one you had, how?
The organizational structure of the underground before the fighting and after. So you tell me that there was none before.
Before I became a partisan, I didn't belong to any organization, and there was no organization between us.
Mm-hmm.
During fights, different times we had different size groups. Sometimes we were 10, 20, 40, 80, and 100. Food supply we used to get from our barons, rich farmers, big landowners.
You stole it or you bought it?
No, we got it from them.
They gave it to you voluntarily?
Not voluntarily, but...
They gave it to you under coercion?
Right, we got from them because they were glad to get, we should get from them because they had to give to the Germans a certain amount of food. And when we took a part, they were saying all the time 3 times as much.
Mm-hmm.
So...
You were never caught by the Germans?
No.
Resistance questionnaire number 3, part B, forests. How did you get to the forest?
I went by myself.
Were you a member of a predominantly non-Jewish group?
No.
All Jews?
All Jews.
What was its name?
Emilia Plata.
Who was the commander?
At the beginning was Gruber, Miette Gruber. Some of the times was Sam Finkel. Then there were other commanders.
Do you remember who?
Correction. The first commander was Yankel Clara. After he got killed, we got together with a group under command of Miette Gruber. He was the commander for a while. Then the commander was Sam Finkel. And later on, they made me the commander. After that, we got together with a group under command Giel Greenspan. At that time, Miette Gruber was Giel Greenspan was the commander, and Gruber was the next commander, and I was commander of a platoon, and Marian Dvoretsky was another commander.
Where did your group fight?
All in the Lublin territory. Near Kamionka, Parchev, Markushov, Garbov, Parchev, Romblov, Voleb Przybyslavsky, in Lubartov territory.
Tell us in chronological sequence your experiences, mentioning the details contained in the following questions regarding each of the fights in which you fought. What was the relation between the commanders and the men in each unit in which you fought?
We got along pretty well. Sometimes there were little differences, like normally in all the other groups.
What were the armed actions that you know of, especially those in which you yourself participated?
I mentioned that before.
What was your relation with family groups or individual unarmed Jews hiding in the forest?
Whenever we found a Jew which couldn't go with us, we had places where we kept them in special bunkers by the farmers, and we supplied them with food and everything else.
So the fighting units protected the family groups?
Right.
What was the attitude of the there were no non-Jewish commanders in your...
We took orders from the PPR, Polska Partia Robotnicza.
And what was the attitude of the non-Jewish commanders and men towards the family groups?
They were not against it. We helped them. We took care of our Jewish members, Jewish families.
But what did the non-Jewish commanders think?
They were thinking we're doing the right thing.
Oh. Did your unit do anything to bring Jews into the forest?
No.
Were people received into your fighting unit if they were unarmed?
Yes.
Where did you get arms?
We got arms from the Russians.
How and where did you get food?
Anytime we needed food, we went out to the, to the farmers, those big prints there, landowners, and we got food. And as a matter of fact, many times like the mayors from each village used to ask us to come in to take some food, so they had a chance to claim that the partisans came there and took away all the food they couldn't give to the Germans.
Was the discipline in your unit harsh, strict, or mild?
Strict.
Were people punished?
Yes.
What for?
If they commit something against the rules of the group.
How were they punished?
Depends what kind of... What were people punished for? It's many things, like we didn't have too many, but if somebody wanted to, let's say, went away without saying or had an order that he could go without a permission, they could go away.
How was
or did something, took something on his own, which without the commander knowing it.
How were they punished?
I would say we didn't have too big of crimes, but they were punished certain ways, like took away his guns, let him stay on guard many times, send him for special missions.
What was the fate of women partisans?
We had women in our group.
What work did they do?
They were doing cooking mostly. Some of them were fighting too.
Were they treated with consideration or were they sexually exploited?
Consideration.
But what about the other men in the unit?
They were pretty fair.
And the women were not exploited?
No.
Were there children among the partisans?
Yes, not with us together. We had a group with children and families, which they were separate.
How were the children treated?
We just took care of them. We treated them very well. We just took care of them, like supplied with food, and tried to guard them, that nobody should, try to destroy them. And then they took care of themselves, their families.
What were the emotional and or rational motivations of Jewish partisans for fighting?
Because first of all, we had no other choice just to fight, and then to take revenge.
Was there any social activity? Were there any bonfires?
Yes, occasionally.
Did you ever are there any songs or stories that you remember?
Songs, yes, quite a few.
Could you record or write down the songs for us? Did you take any prisoners?
Prisoners, yes.
What did you do with them?
Depends what kind of prisoners they were. You know, most of the time we executed them. But once we caught 2 prisoners from the Wehrmacht watching a bridge, and we kept them. And they were fighting with us together. 2 old men.
When and how were you liberated? Relate briefly what happened to you after the liberation.